In this video, I'll guide you through the process of setting up a new Daily Organiser file. It's a little bit different if you're starting a new year from an existing DO file, so you've had the DO operating last year and you just want to import some things, but there are some similarities as well. So first thing we'll do is create a new file. I'll just call this one video demo for our purposes. I've already got my DO file running for the year. And it's asking me to find a timetable file. Everything in the DO file that's used for organizational purposes comes out of your master timetable file. And so I choose that one here. You just might need to browse for it to find it. And it will import all of that. And it also makes a lot of links, so when you update information in your timetable, it will automatically update, or it'll ask you if you want to update the DO file as well. Now, this is asking me if I want to import parameters from another Daily Organiser file. So for example, in a new year, I could use this to import all my teacher information and CRTs and all sorts of things from previous year's DO file. In this case, I don't want to. I'm going to start from scratch because I want to do a bit of a cleanup. So I'll click no to that, but I can import different sections of it later on if I choose to. Now, the first thing you'll want to do is set the cycle start dates. This is useful for allocating teachers a certain number of extras within particular time ranges, so whether it be once a fortnight or once a week and so on. And you just go through and insert dates there as you see fit. It does take a little while. There's not really an easy way to get these in. It is possible to edit the data file and generate a set of dates. I haven't tried that, but I suspect it may actually cause some data corruption elsewhere. So go through, plot in all your starting dates for the cycles, and then we move on. In unsupervised classes, you can add particular timetabled classes that don't need to have a teacher. So it may be things like a vet class that's provided off-site, or groups of students that may have a study period in the library, for example. The teacher absence reason section lets you just go through and insert all the different reasons that you might want to have listed on your daily extras sheet. We've got a reason code. The reason code needs to be individual, so it can just be a shortened version, or you can have the full name, but if you might have some similarities, just shorten it a bit. The reason code shows up in some sections of the Daily Organiser module and in some of the printouts, but generally it's the whole reason that will show up. So we'll just go through and add one we need to actually press insert reason first. So the reason code, and I'll type the full explanation in there. If we click out of it or press enter or tab, it will add a new one, and we can just press escape from there to close that and let it go. So we can add as many as we want for different reasons that you might have. You can add them anytime during the year as well. If someone comes in and says, look, I'm going to be away such and such, and you haven't already got the reason in there, you can go back and add that easily enough. You may choose not to have as many as I've used in my other videos, simply because you may not want to put medical or health issues. You might just want to put absent for some reason. Probably not going to put very specific medical reasons on there, but I'll leave that up to individual DOs to organise. Again, in the lesson cancellation section, we've got the option to put in all sorts of different reasons: camps, excursions, assemblies, student-free sessions. You wouldn't need to necessarily put in a student-free day because that'll be all your students away, but if you've got a whole year level out on a retreat or something like that, you can add all of those in as well. Then we move on to the slightly time-consuming part. The teacher details will generally come from the timetable file that it's linked to. So all of these teachers that are listed on my file here are my current teaching staff that have been taken from my working timetable file. All the information that's on this screen, again, comes out of the timetable file and will update as you make changes to your timetable. If you take teachers out during the year from your timetable, they will actually remain in this screen. The Daily Organiser remembers that they did exist at some point, and so they will keep their data in case that person then comes back. But it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes when you've got, sometimes if you do an import and it's bringing in teachers that haven't worked there for 3 or 4 years, and you have to go through and sort of manually delete those. So we've got proposed load and actual load. What the program doesn't do is automatically work out how many periods a cycle or a week teachers are under allotted. So we need to actually go in and do that manually. But the options that we've got, and I'll just click on this teacher, we've got name details at the top, and again I've grayed all of those out just for the privacy of the teaching staff at my school. The first option that we've got is eligible to take absences. Now that means any kind of replacement that may be needed on a day. If you leave this off, it means that a teacher who has a cancelled class can't be used as a replacement. Now in my case, I've got some teachers that are slightly over allotted or have extra duties that take them over and above, or have difficult travel circumstances and so on. So I keep them off this list because they're not ever going to do replacements, because they're already doing well and truly above what they need to. And I also use that for non-teaching staff. So I've actually got my non-teaching staff, particularly the support staff that go into classes, on here so that they can show up on the extras list, on the absence list daily. But it means that by deselecting this tick, they won't be ever coming up in my choice of teachers to take a cover. It's generally a good idea to, I believe, to leave it on, because it means that you do have the option for teachers who may be over allotted. If they lose 3 periods in a day for an assembly or a retreat or something, they can actually be used to do other classes during that time, because even though they might be over allotted, that's actually part of their teaching time, so they can do another class in that time instead. Priority is used for the Daily Organiser screen for your replacements. It just adds another level of sorting to the teachers that are available for a particular period. Generally the CRTs will come up as a higher priority, and any teachers that are on full load you may choose to put as a lower priority, or teachers that are under allotted you might choose to put as a higher priority as well. Your cycle limit generally for most places will be 1, because if you're on a fortnightly cycle, that brings you up to about 1 per fortnight, which gives you the approximate number for the year according to the agreements. The overall limit is how many periods, because this is measured in periods, not in hours, how many periods for the year that particular teacher is allowed to do. So in my situation, the agreement for my school, or for the schools under this agreement, is 14 or 15 hours. I can't remember exactly which translates to 18 periods. So I would change this to 18. If it was a part-time staff member, I would have to work out the appropriate fraction pro rata for that. So someone on 0.5 would get an overall limit of 9 for the year. The uncounted load is where we work out how many periods of uncounted replacements or top-ups that a teacher will get each week or each cycle. So this is where you need to actually go through and work out, okay, this person is on proposed load of 48, their actual load 49.8, and that's including yard duties, so that person is on full load. If I was to go down a little bit further and find someone who's significantly under, can't find someone, so this person here, proposed load of 35, they're on 31.9, so that means that they should actually be getting probably 3 periods of uncounted load. So I'd put 3 in there, and that means that 3 periods out of every cycle they will get as top-ups, which will bring them up to their expected load for what they're actually being paid for. Can be handy to have phone contact details in here if you want to work through that way, because it comes up on your emergency teacher screen when you're choosing who you're going to get in. But I've got all mine in my mobile, and I use that because it's generally quicker. So that will then work through all of these details, and again go through and add your emergency details as you need to. Brings up the same screen, so you can fill in all those details.